Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. News and prophecy, linking to things happening worldwide, things happening right before your very eyes. All right, things you are witnessing. We link those things to biblical prophecy to show you that the words that are written in the volume of the book are faithful and true. And as the book of Habakkuk told us, that in the latter times, all right, these things would speak and not lie. Okay, so everything that is happening around us is associated with what's written, all right, in the volume of the book via prophecy, which sets this book apart from any other book, any other philosophy, any other so-called religion. It is prophecy in which in these latter days, via the blood of our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, we have been given access, all right, to faith, which is a gift, all right. Under his blood, we also received, all right, the understanding of the scriptures, all right, to go into the volume of the book and break these things down to you, all right. So this is not of our own will, all right. We have this treasure in earthen vessels. We're merely servants and vessels chosen by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, all right, to break these things down, to give understanding as the prophets of old did, okay? We're in our final captivity, and we know that our final captivity, all right, pursuant to 2nd Esdras 6 and 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, all right? So we're living in the last stages, all right, of Esau's rulership, which was a blessing given unto him by Isaac, that he would have the fatness of the earth, the dew of heaven from above, meaning he would control all of the resources, all right? His policy would control and dominate, and he was blessed with a sword, okay, military might, all right, the ability to use weaponry, all right, martial, all right, activity, even going back to the spirit of Cain, which means weapon. All right, when you go into the Josephus, which is a historical account of biblical accounts, all right, pretty much he tells us that Cain was trained in martial warfare, military warfare, and that spirit returned through Esau, Edom, okay, which was blessed with the sword, all right, and the ability to, you know, lie, deceive, all right. It's the spirit of the serpent, okay. And again, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, all right. And Esau's end is marked by inquisition, which means an investigation into his works. And Esau, Edom feels it. He feels the heat. Okay, there's a shameful spewing on his glory. He's being found out to be the devil, a liar, a deceiver, a raper, a robber, a murderer. Okay, his false Christianity is being called out. Okay, and he's being revealed for who he is. As the scripture said what happened, the man of sin will be revealed. Okay, so what we're witnessing, okay, is Esau, Edom reacting to that, all right, and looking for a reason and someone to blame for his own failures. So Esau, Edom, all right, is preparing to wage war, primarily on the sons of Jacob, all right? Remember, you have something that he wants. As you see, his scientists are trying to tap into immortality, living forever, ridding the earth of sickness. That is something that is promised to the Israelites through Yahweh Shai. Okay, and he is on a war path to X out the Son of the Most High and set himself up as gods on earth, all right, via a left-handed blessing, which is only temporal, and he feels it slipping away from him, all right? And we're getting ready to show you that this devil is going to come down with great wrath, man. It's not a thing of if, it's just when. And he's already in the beginning stages of manipulating laws to justify bringing martial law, okay, and waging war on what he calls domestic terrorists, which within his realm, that's a broad, thing. If he can label you a domestic terror, he can say ultimately you are stirring up insurrection, and acts and laws, unrighteous decrees are getting ready to be passed as a means to wage war. All right. His countenance has changed. As a matter of fact, let's get that in the book of Habakkuk 1:11. Okay. This is speaking of the ancient Chaldeans, but the modern day Chaldeans, who this is speaking of now, when you get Isaiah 4:1, the daughter of the Chaldeans is the daughter of Babylon, which is the daughter of Edom. Okay. The modern day Chaldean, all right, is the biblical Edomite, which they were the witches and warlocks of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Okay. And more so, this is speaking to the leaders of Esau, Edom, the elite bankers, all right, the warlocks, the left-handed priesthood, the technocrats, all right, those who are establishing this technocracy. All right. And they have their hands in the backs of the likes of Donald Trump and this Trump regime, okay, to wage the war necessary to break up the U.S. Constitution and bring about a new world order, because the concept of America, as I always say, stands in the way of the new world order. This is Habakkuk 1:11. Then shall his mind change, and he shall pass over and offend, imputing this his power unto his God. So he's showing you who his God is, who he worships. And the scriptures told you that the man of sin will be revealed. He who's coming is after the working of Satan. All right. And they're in the process of manipulating the laws, okay, to justify bringing a brutal sword, all right, to our people and their own people, all right, those of the lower class who have, believed in this narrative of making America great again, but are at the losing end in the grand scheme of things of even the policies of Donald Trump. And eventually they're going to lose it. But in the process, as we're going to show you, they're looking for someone to blame. Okay, they're looking for someone to blame, and they're looking for a reason to bring the sword. And you're going to have agents who are a part of particular Israelite camps do things that are not conducive. But in the end all be all is that we're all going to be labeled domestic terrorist. All right. That's what's coming down the pipe. That's ultimately the goal and the end game of what these devils are trying to do. That way they can make you an offender for a word and basically use the testimony, all right, that exposes them to be the devil that they are as a means, all right, to say ultimately it's hate speech and it's inciting violence. Now, there's a video I was watching earlier by the priest Ayash Amath of GMS, Mississippi. GMS Kingdom Minded 144. Subscribe and be edified. Morning news and prophecy. Civil war looming. Understanding laws. And in this video, okay, he is going into, all right, particular things that are being done, all right, and how the Trump administration is pretty much throwing loopholes, all right, in the grand scheme of things, into particular laws that restrict them from waging war on the people. They're throwing loopholes, just like we saw Trump label Antifa a domestic terror group. Now you have a so-called ex-member of Antifa, which Antifa is not one specific group, but it's an ideology, right? It's an ideology. As a matter of fact, we can just type in What is Antifa? Give me 1 second here. What is Antifa? Basically an anti-fascist movement. Okay. And you're starting to hear the term fascism, pop up more and more. But when you ask what is Antifa, again, it's an anti-fascist group, anti-white supremacy. All right. Anti-authoritarianism, which this is everything that Esau Edom is boasting in right now. So it's not just a single organization. So when you have Donald Trump labeling Antifa a domestic terror group, okay, who exactly can be put in that box? Well, we know that he is the accuser of the brethren. Okay, and it's controversial for those standing up against white supremacy, fascism, the system. They can all be thrown in that box. And right now, all right, as you can see here, former Antifa member, now he's on Fox Move praising Trump's decision to declare the group domestic terror organization, basically saying when I was in it, this is what they were saying they wanted to do. Boom, 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 boom. So a lot is happening. Okay. And you also have particular members of Antifa saying that they're being threatened. Okay. Their lives are being threatened and they're moving abroad. Okay. So all of this is happening, all right, while they're getting ready to wage war on Jake. But if they can label you a domestic terror and the mover of, sedition and all of these various different things, then they can go ahead and wage war on you, and loopholes are being thrown in the grand scheme of things, as that brother was going into. But let's see here. Let's just show Antifa. Let's see here. Anti-fascism expert blocked from flying to Spain, right? Antifa expert at Rutgers University said he's moving to Spain because of death threats. Okay. So basically, these are organizations and groups that are funded by the Edomite, okay, to do things and say things. All right. And in the latter days and at the right time, they pull them out of their back pocket and put them in the forefront as a means to justify doing what they're getting ready to do. Remember, the serpent is more subtle than any of the beasts of the field. Okay. Antifa groups generally believe fascism and far right movements are a threat to democracy, which democracy is associated with the left, as we've been showing you. All right. So-called blacks. All right. When you talk about the left, all right, the right has accused you and put you in that box, and your leaders, all right, have systematically been set up to lead you into being, all right, a Democrat or being in line with democracy or far left ideology. So, right, with the little bit we know about Antifa and the little bit we know about Black Lives Matter and a little bit we know about, different things that we're even saying, we can be placed in that box. Okay. And again, Antifa is not just one organization. Okay. It's more so an ideology, a mindset. Okay. So it's all over the place. It's a big gray area, but all of a sudden Trump labels them, all right, domestic terror, right? Not too long ago. Okay. Now you have the leaders of Antifa fleeing because there's a crackdown, all right, on their networks. Okay. And just some weeks ago, all right, Trump designates Antifa a domestic terror group. All right. And that's going to be key in the war that they wage and what they're justified in doing going forth. But watch this brother's video. It's a real good video, and he actually goes into the laws and particular loopholes that are being passed to justify, all right, waging war on you. Okay, this is why we're going to have to be justified by faith. Let's get that in the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. Okay, in the 4th verse. As a matter of fact, let's start at the 3rd verse. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. And we've been telling you, martial law is coming. We've been telling you that the troops are coming. We've been telling you, all right, that concentration camps, all of these various different things. We have warned you of these things. We have not withheld the truth of the reality of prophecy from you. And you all are still offended by prophecy. All right. It's tight, but it's right. Okay. The vision of how this place is going to collapse is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come to pass. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. He's a very proud individual, a very proud nation of people who will not be accountable for their crimes, who is looking for someone to blame. He's both the villain and the victim. There's nothing you can do to get this man to be right. He's just not right. Okay. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. All right. And this is what most Israelites don't want to do. They don't want to tap into faith. They have to see it to believe it. Okay. And this is the final nigga in the game. Okay. Just like beating Mario, you had to go through Bowser. You had to go through Koopa. You couldn't get the princess until they were defeated. Well, until Esau Edom falls, which prophecy says he will, but it's a very dangerous and narrow path to get to the kingdom of heaven. And a lot of you Israelites don't want to swallow the reality of what's getting ready to happen. Okay? Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, his philosophies. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. He's all over the world waging war, funding war. But he can't pay his own people. He treats his own citizens like shit, but he's all over the world, funding wars, false flag wars, that is, right? Funding the small hats, funding the Ukrainians. Okay? When the left was in office, funding, all kind of demonic, experiments on animals, all kind of demonic groups and perversions all over the world. All right? Funding fake groups to set up coups and rebellions in certain, countries to form, rebellions so that he can swoop in and become the hero and set up a democracy. This is what both the left and the right are responsible for. Both of them are wicked. And the left and right are just what they put in your face. The true rulers are the bankers, okay, the witches and warlocks that are at the forefront of this all. All right, who play both sides, man. So his desire, he enlarges his desire as hell and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. He's trying to gather everyone under the banner of this new world order, man. The modern day Tower of Babel. As a matter of fact, listen to this devil. Proof that this is Babel all over again. Hold up. Let's do this. Hold on. Let's do this.
These giant gigawatt data centers in space. So these giant training clusters, those will be better built in space because we have solar power there 24/7. And the solar power there there are no clouds and no rain, no weather. So you can build, we will be able to beat the cost of terrestrial data centers in space in the next couple of decades. And so space will end up being one of the places that keeps making Earth better. It already has happened with weather satellites. It's already happened with communication satellites. The next step is going to be data centers and the other kinds of manufacturing.
This nigga is crazy. Showing you that the soul which is lifted up in him, because that's a proud thing to say, it's not upright in him. See? And he can't be satisfied. So we're living at the time where he's being called out. Habakkuk 2 and 6 And we'll get into that in the MOTB lesson, just to show you how crazy this man is. He wants to put data centers out of space. Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe unto him that increaseth in that which is not his? How long? So the small hat, the bankers, are being called out. Okay, so now they're using pseudoscience and witchcraft to justify shutting people up. All right, and they're putting Jacob at the forefront of what they want to destroy. Okay, and now they're basically saying we must fight back. And they got their little minions hyped up. Okay, and to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. So everyone knows that this devil has hoarded all the resources to himself. He has everyone in debt with this fake, all right, demonic banking system. And now he's being called out. Okay, the people are saying, woe unto him that increaseth in that which is not his. And he does a good job of taking the eye off of him and putting it on our people. Now, I wanted to get into a few videos because he is getting ready to wage war on you, Jake. We talked about how Trump. All right, what we're going to do, we're going to show you this. Let's go here.
Vote the Insurrection Act, sir.
What?
The Insurrection Act, under what conditions or terms would you?
Well, I'd do it if it was necessary. So far, it hasn't been necessary, but we have an Insurrection Act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that. I mean, I want to make sure that people aren't killed. We have to make sure that our cities are safe. And it's turning out, and we started with D.C., it's been so successful. You look at what's happened with Portland over the years. It's a burning hellhole. And then you have a judge that lost her way that tries to pretend that like there's no problem. Actually, she's not even saying that. There's a huge problem in Portland. I'll tell you what the problem is. Crime. Okay, crime. There's a huge problem in Chicago. It's called crime. And we want to put out the crime. And then
when he says put out the crime, he's talking about put out niggas. All right. And niggas have been, doing crime on one another, on each other for years. But we're living at a time now where he needs a scapegoat for his, for him being called out. So now he's threatening to pass the Insurrection Act. All right. So it's no longer a movie. It's no longer a prophecy. It's here. As a matter of fact, let's play this. GMS Vegas sit downs, 144K. Subscribe. It's not a movie. It's now your reality, Jacob. All right. Scripture we always bring out, Revelation 13:11. I'll beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. Babylon the Great, the revival of the Western Roman Empire, fulfilled along with the NATO and the EU, the beast system. And he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So the two horns like a lamb, the Democratic and Republican system, which pretty much you see them continuous throughout the left-right paradigm, all right, to have you looking each way while you're being dragged, all right, into draconian measures, okay, and unrighteous decrees. Okay? And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord. And we believe through the spirit that's Donald Trump.
Following a major story out of the South Shore neighborhood where ICE, the FBI, and federal agents carried out an immigration enforcement operation in the middle of the night.
Y'all disturbing the peace. It's 1 a.m. It's kids that stay in that building. Y'all flashbanging. Y'all not being considerate.
Women and children appear to be some of the people led away by federal agents. They were taken into these vans, staged in a parking lot near a school. Our Learn Victory live outside the building where this happened with more details. Lauren, what have we learned?
Well, Marie, I was able to speak with some people this morning that were out here when all these federal agents were here. We are still waiting, however, to hear how many people were taken into custody and on what grounds. We were told that some of the people that were taken out in zip ties were actually not immigrants at all. We spoke to a man whose boyfriend is a citizen who was escorted off the premises by federal agents.
Zip tied, they put them in a bus. They had immigrants, and they had like the black people in one bus. But they said they still was checking people for warrants.
That was Marley Sanders, who took us inside the building to show us units where he says federal agents busted holes through walls and doors to access people living inside. Video from outside the building shows a large presence of uniformed officers carrying long guns around 1 a.m.
Supposedly there was a lot of Venezuela gang members in this building. A lot of Hamites too, or African, so-called Africans. Jake was in there too. But this is just a sign of what's to come. This is, easy work, small work compared to what's coming. But this just showing you that this devil is getting ready to, I mean, how many times do we have to say it? Okay. Yeah, we spoke to a man whose boyfriend. You hear that crap? Yeah, I didn't even pick that up, but now that I think about it, yeah, this is madness, man. Yeah, America's a total shit show. Yeah.
They hopped on and off budget rental trucks and also rode around in armored vehicles. Witness footage shows a school parking lot nearby being used as a staging area where people were taken into custody, and that includes women with children young enough to be carried. Sanders' boyfriend, who again is a citizen, was let go. How's your boyfriend doing?
He's going good now. Yeah, he was scared. He was scared.
How's your boyfriend doing? Man, may the Lord destroy this place, man. You see? This is crazy, man. Hold up.
A federal judge in Chicago has refused the Illinois Attorney General's request to immediately block the Trump administration from deploying hundreds of National Guard troops to the state, instead saying she'll hear arguments on Thursday. This is in contrast to Portland, Oregon, where a federal judge appointed by President Trump did issue a restraining order to stop Trump from sending troops. Illinois Governor Pritzker said Monday he would not back down.
Since the beginning of this invasion, families have been snatched up off the streets or removed from their homes, zip-tied and detained for hours, including especially U.S. citizens and legal residents of our state. And in the words of CBP Chief Patrol Agent Greg Bavino, they're being chosen by how they look.
Also on Monday, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson announced he'd signed an executive order to stop federal immigration agents from using certain city-owned spaces.
The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
This comes after an overnight ICE raid on a Chicago apartment complex days ago, when ICE agents wearing fatigues and carrying guns repelled from a Black Hawk helicopter and zip-tied children and U.S. citizens while carrying out arrests. A neighbor described the terrifying ordeal to ABC 7 Chicago.
They was terrified. The kids was crying. People was screaming. They looked very distraught. I was out there crying when I seen the little girl come around the corner because they was bringing the kids out too. Had them zip tied to each other. That's all I kept asking. Where's the morality? Where's the human? One of them literally laughed. He was standing right here. He said, them kids.
Meanwhile, Friday, federal agents handcuffed Chicago alderperson Jessie Fuentes and briefly detained her when she asked if they had a signed warrant for a man they were trying to detain at a hospital.
Do you have Do you have a sign?
No, you need to wait before turn around here. Turn around again. He's under. I'm from West. Turn around. You're going to be placed under arrest.
Do you have a sign?
And these are these ICE agents, right? A lot of them got their faces covered because basically, people are identifying them and, threatening to go to their houses and exposing their job. It's just a. Oh man, this is draining, man. America is draining, man. But this has to happen, But the Jake, the pretty much, the sodomite. The Lord ain't playing with you people, man. And we're gonna show you some of the mindset of what this devil is. This devil is not gonna go out without a fight, and he is looking for someone to blame for his failure of rulership. Okay. That's really what's happening.
For those who can't see, the agent then pulled her hands behind her back and handcuffed her. The video was shared in a report by the news outlet Book Club Chicago, which is part of a coalition of Chicago journalists and activists who filed a new lawsuit with the ACLU of Illinois against the Trump administration over a pattern of, quote, extreme brutality, unquote, by federal agents during protests at the Broadview ICE Detention Center in a Chicago suburb. In this CBS News Chicago story, correspondent Azal Rizai describes how she was attacked while reporting at the ICE jail.
An ICE agent that was masked pointed his weapon and shot directly at my car. He saw my window was open and he shot right here. You can see the point of impact right there.
You can see white powder exploded on the hood of her car, windshield, and even engulfed the inside.
And I was sitting right there with my window open. A lot of it went inside of my car and on my face. I immediately felt it burning. I started throwing up.
For more, we're joined by Ed Yanka, Director of Communications and Public Policy for the ACLU of Illinois. Ed, thanks so much for being with us. There's so much to discuss here. I mean, one lawsuit after another. Most recently, yesterday, the filing of the lawsuit around the deploying the federalized troops to Chicago. Apparently, Governor Abbott allowed the troops to go from Texas, and they're in Indiana right now. But talk about the judge's ruling and the other lawsuits as well that you're a part of.
Sure. So the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago, as you say, filed a lawsuit yesterday to challenge the federalization of National Guard and deploying them here.
So basically, the federal, all right, is taking over the local government, and there's a back and forth. Which this is something that happened in ancient Rome, Egyptian against Egyptian, city against city. Okay, because the bidding of the elite, all right, is going to undermine local governments. You see? And this is where you're going to start to see particular back and forth. You know, California, Illinois. All right. You see mostly blue states are being attacked. All right. And it's going to be a big time divide, which is going to lead to civil unrest. But I wanted to show you. Let's look at a little bit of this and get into this Insurrection Act. But the real video I want to show you, well, shout out to the beloved, priest, Karai Ba from Houston sent me this. This is what we're going to listen to. Okay. Because these devils, again, Genesis 27:41, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning of my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. So he's looking for a reason to slay you. Okay. Ezekiel 21:9, Son of man, give the people this message from the Lord. A sword is being sharpened and polished. It is sharpened for terrible slaughter and polished to flash like lightning. Now will you laugh? Is it time to laugh and mock now? Those far stronger than you have fallen beneath his power. So the Lord has given this devil power. And at this time, he's in power. All right. Carnally, he has the upper hand when it comes to weaponry and the ability to wage war and the law. All of these things are on his side. Yes, the sword is now being sharpened and polished. It is being prepared for the executioner. See, Son of man, cry out and wail. Pound your thighs in anguish, for that sword will slaughter my people and their leaders. Everyone will die. So the wicked of our people, all right, as you go earlier in this book, okay, the Lord was not pleased with Israel, man. Ezekiel 9:4, right? And Ezekiel, Jeremiah, they had been prophesying to Jake, look, okay, the Babylonians are going to come take down Jerusalem. Jake didn't want to listen. It was heavy in idol worship. They were mocking and scoffing. And then it happened. See, and this is just about where we are. All right, where all of the prophecies we've been prophesying, they're coming to pass, man. And all of these negative, wicked, stupid comments. Okay. Here it is the other day. We were we brought out a video. I mean, we did a video. I did a video, land backing off of the Elder Manata Zakba about, this MAGA pastor saying basically we want to, basically use, ancient biblical laws to destroy, to basically stone and get rid of young, rebellious niggas. and the dude leaves a comment, you ain't played a video where, well, look it up. I'm on the lunch break. I don't have all of the time in the world. I'm just responding. I saw the clip of it, but to get to it, I would bring it out later. But the dude's on the video, man, y'all bringing out propaganda. Well, let's see if this is propaganda. Let's see if he really says it.
The actual number of blacks who are committing murder is more than whites. And whites are significantly greater, 60% compared to 13% percentage of the population. Yeah.
So if you take that, then you took a law like Deuteronomy.
Oh boy. Hold on, give me 1 second here. Let's do it from here. Oh, we gotta get out of here, man.
Of blacks who are committing murder is more than whites. And whites are significantly greater, 60% compared to 13%.
So whites at 60% of the American population. Jake is only 13. Again, they pull these statistics out of their ass, but who told you that they were going to be doing this? Who told you they were going to tap back into their pseudoscience as a justification to wage war on you? Who told you that? Why? You listen to the rest of these camps, they're telling you the answer is, building communities and, planting trees and, I support your business, you support mine. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy. But that ain't what the ancient prophets warned. They warned of a hard time coming where our people would have to cling to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai and we would have to live as pilgrims. Okay? Your enemy is getting ready to come down with great wrath, man. This is the message.
Percentage of the population, yeah.
So if you take that, then you took a law like Deuteronomy 21, which is a just law that God enacted through Moses. The law was that if you had a rebellious son, you have a child they're coming up into their manhood and they're rebellious, they don't listen. He lists some characteristics and even though they're disciplined, they will not turn. He says the fathers to bring them out into the town square.
Yeah, stone them, basically. Yeah, the internet's acting up. But yeah, basically bring them out and stone them. See that? Oh, man, Satan, boy.
Number of blacks who are committing murder is more.
Satan is a motherfucker, boy. Okay, here we go. Hold on. It's been that kind of day.
Is more than.
You have a child they're coming up into their manhood and they're rebellious. They don't listen. He lists some characteristics and even though they're disciplined, they will not turn. He says the fathers to bring them out into the town square. This is a rebellious son. And then they stone him to death. They kill him.
And an armed robber would certainly be one of those.
Oh, absolutely. Armed robber, all the ghetto
violent
culture.
crime.
Basically, take ghetto culture. It would describe this to a T. If you did that over 3 generations, how much violent crime would you have in the 3rd and 4th generation?
See that? So yeah, your enemy is basically accusing you. This is what they tap it into. So for that guy who left that comment, man, are we spreading propaganda or did he actually say it, man? This is why you shut the fuck up and look it up yourself, man. Boy, I'm tired of you niggas, man. Lazy-minded. Look it up for yourself, man. You want to be spoon-fed every goddamn thing. We read the quote from the podcast. And of course, the brother Elder Manat Zakba played it, but look, I didn't have time to play it. I'm just acting, I'm just reacting to his video. Goodness gracious, man. And you got other comments that, man, the Lord gonna get you. You people keep playing with us, man. We here spreading propaganda, man. We're telling you prophecy, man. Revelation 12 and 12. Oh my goodness, man. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time, man. So this is where we at, man. Okay?
Breaking overnight, new moves and new threats by President Trump to send the National Guard into blue states over the objections of governors, even if it takes emergency power to do it. The Republican governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, posted a picture showing National Guard troops from his state boarding a military aircraft. We're told the president has activated Texas troops to deploy to the Chicago area, where protesters have been clashing with ICE agents. Flight records appear to show the troops landed in neighboring Indiana overnight as they await what comes next. Now, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has called the mobilization an unconstitutional invasion. The city and state have sued over it, but a federal judge declined so far to immediately block the troop deployment in Chicago and has given the Trump administration until Wednesday night to respond to the suit. And if officials or courts stand in the president's way, the president says he could get around them by invoking the more than 200-year-old Insurrection Act.
Invoking the 200-year-old Insurrection Act. Okay, so I asked here briefly, and again, like I told you, check out this brother's video. Okay, I'm just kind of rushing through some things. It's late. My day didn't go as planned as I got home, but I'm just, getting the information out there. Spirit's on me to do, a video, but the technicalities and this and that, brothers are set up. That's why we're a body. Okay. Highly frustrating day. But as you can see here, morning news and prophecy. Look at this brother's video. Okay. He's going into it. Right. So I typed it up here. What is the Insurrection Act? How does it negatively affect American citizens, especially minorities? The Insurrection Act of 1807 is a federal law that gives the President of the United States the power to deploy the U.S. forces and federalize the National Guard, right? Undermine, local governments, okay? And basically do the will of the elite, all right? And they're doing everything in their power, okay, to justify people as domestic teas, okay, insurrectionist, okay? And the kickback from some of these mayors in these blue states, all right, he's going to basically label, all right, them terrorists, and it's going to go down. And in the grand scheme of things, the American people, all right, mainly Israel, is going to lose. This is what they want. They're looking for a reason to bring the sword. So this gives the President of the United States power to deploy the U.S. military forces and federalize the National Guard within the country to suppress rebellion, civil unrest, insurrections, or violent resistance against federal authority. It is found in Title 10, U.S. Code Section 251 through 255. It is one of the few exceptions to the Posse Comitatus Act, because the Posse Comitatus Act restricts them from, bringing in, all right, the troops on that in that fact. But particular loopholes and terminology and accusations, the accuser of the brethren, could allow them to do it. And this is what they're heading towards doing. And this is what the brother focused on in this video. Okay. It's very technical because Esau's law, like you look at the law of the Bible, it's just straightforward. Esau is a bunch of gray areas, a bunch of words. It's all over the place. It's a hell of pages. Okay. The actual point could be 900 pages in. And this is how he gets you, because he's crafty. He's the devil. And basically, they're undermining the Constitution right before your very eyes, man. The Patriot Act on steroids, man. Okay, no due process. They're going to be able to label you what they want to label you based upon your belief, based upon your talking point. And ultimately, Okay, shit, wage war on you. Okay, by law, as the scriptures say, he frameth mischief by a law. Okay, it says the president can invoke it at a state's request if the governor asks for help. Okay. Without a state's consent, if the federal government believes the local authorities can't or won't enforce federal laws. And this is what he's saying about the blue states. To protect civil rights, if people are being denied constitutional rights and the state won't intervene, how can it negatively affect citizens, especially minorities? While the law's intent is to maintain order, order out of chaos, it has historically carried serious risk, particularly for black and minority communities. Here's why. Broad and vague presidential power. The language of the act is extremely broad, a bunch of gray areas where they can just accuse you and throw all kind of shit, giving the president wide discretion to decide what qualifies insurrection or domestic violence. Okay, so you don't think the Hebrew Israelites are going to be thrown into that broad gray area? This can be used politically, allowing troops to be sent into communities even when the threat is unclear or exaggerated. Okay? The enemy within, right? Just like after C. Kirk got shot, they used that as a means to wage war on you. I mean, listen to this guy here. Let's go to this video here. Right?
The President of the United States, aka Marie Antoinette, and we refer to him here as Kanks, is intellectually lazy and only cares about vanity projects and ego-based projects. He is a famous non-reader. He doesn't give a shit about policy. He's working on his ballroom. He's working on gold leafing the Oval, the horrific remodel of the Rose Garden, which is just so lacking in creativity and I just think Democrats have to call out a lot of things at one time. MAGA Christians are the anti-Jesus, no empathy, hateful, cruel cult, and I think they need to say it in those terms. The person right below Kanks, his top advisor here, is a Nazi, is a fascist, wants to be the thought police, and is trying to organize a Gestapo. MAGA policies are Argentina first and Israel first. MAGA policies, as Pump said, it appears like they want to kill off the very people that voted for them. Guys, why on earth? Why? When we pay money for Argentinians and Israelis to have health care, why don't we pay it for Americans to have health care? Why don't we do that? Why doesn't MAGA do that? But let's play just another clip from our little psycho Nazi, Stephen Miller.
There's a square inch of block in this city where a citizen doesn't feel safe is unacceptable. This is Memphis. This is the United States of America. And all that bullshit is done. It's over. It's finished. You know, the gangbangers that you deal with, they think that they're ruthless. They have no idea how ruthless we are. They think they're tough. They have no idea how tough we are. They think that they're hardcore. We are so much more hardcore than they are. And we have the entire weight of the United States government behind us. What do they have? They have nothing behind them. So we are going to win. They are going to lose. We are going to rescue Memphis. And it will not only be safer than ever before, but businesses and investment are going to pour in, and Memphis will be richer than ever before because President Trump has decided this is a priority. And President Trump.
This is straight up racist. Huh? He is in Memphis, which has a very large black population and a black mayor. And this administration has been selectively focusing on cities that have black mayors to attack first because inherently they are racist and the MAGA base is racist. Look no further than the person that they idolize and are martyring right now, unrepentant, unapologetic, racist Charlie Kirk. But when he says gangbangers, do not kid yourself. That is messaging to white people because there is this messaging that happens to where if a black person is a member of a gang and commits a crime, all black people are that. And white people have a tendency in the media and in government to stereotype an entire race of people. We have a white lone wolf problem right now of white men getting radicalized online and shooting stuff up all over the place. And that same stereotype doesn't apply to all white men. But for black people, it does. And we're here on this podcast to say we see what they're doing, and that is complete racism. What he's trying to do right there is tell the city of Memphis, you have a black problem, and we're going to deal with it. That's what he's saying. That's what the white people that hear that are saying. That is, and we're only a news cycle or two away from them just straight up starting to say that. So I'm asking every single white American right now, do you stand with your black brothers and sisters?
Hell nah. They go choose their, hey. The Lord ultimately is gonna wage war on the 2/3. Lord willing, he protects the elect. Covers the elect. Lord willing, we're covered under the blood of Yahweh Shai. But they're just straight up just going in.
News would lose their minds. But the Republicans have been doing this for years, and I'm telling their news. And that's why it's so great to partner with Ground News. We both have the Vantage Plan. In example, the right is reporting the following. Trump deploys troops to war-ravaged Portland. And then on the Vantage Plan, it tells you this is mixed factuality. And then the left reports it as following. Oregon sues Trump administration over National Guard development. And then it tells you this is a very high factuality. So if you're a smart citizen, read facts. So listener, join us by going to groundnews.com. Next up, we have Stephen Miller sent out a tweet, and Walter Masterson immediately corrected him. So Stephen Miller tweets, Democrats shut down the government to demand free health care for illegals. Walter responds, undocumented immigrants do not receive federal benefits. Undocumented immigrants pay $100 billion in taxes through an ITIN. This is why ICE used the IRS data to find undocumented immigrants. And there you have it. Undocumented immigrants pay more in taxes than Elon Musk, who thinks that we shouldn't have democracy anymore, that thinks that he can pay $300 million to go and just rip up all of the things that make you safe. The undocumented immigrants pay more in taxes than Peter Thiel. They pay more in taxes than Donald Trump. This is the most insidious part of this whole movement. You have the collusion of big business that uses the dumbass, brainwashed evangelicals that have a very nativist, tribalist, and just outward racist default setting to say you can't have nice things. And they scapegoat undocumented immigrants when really undocumented immigrants have always been a part of the American economy. And the deportation of them has not gone off the way they think. This administration is trafficking in so much propaganda, and they flood the zone every day that you think, oh shit, they're winning. Oh shit, they're winning. Their polling is underwater. And if we can just get Democratic leadership either to step aside and put some fighters, or if they can start fighting, I'll take either one. We can get them to recede, because you saw ABC first capitulate to fascism, and then they capitulated to the American people, to our money. And so we have power here to right this ship. And I just want to move on to another video I thought was pretty interesting. This is Kristi Noem, the puppy killer. She has a boyfriend. She's a married Christian woman, and she has been having an affair with a Trump sycophant named Corey Lewandowski. And
this is a mess, man. Salakia, this is all over the place. I just was like, let me bring out something, Oh, man. The scriptures say he will wear out the saints. Let's see where this goes.
Corey Lewandowski went on to talk to the DL Demon Queen about ICE being at the Super Bowl. And the DL Demon Queen, of course, is Benny Johnson, who we all know when he's not acting like he's the biggest Christian in the world. After he does that, he's out eating ass all over Grindr. All right, so play the clip.
Please have enforcement at the Super Bowl for the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show?
Benny, there is nowhere that you can provide safe haven to people who are in this country illegally, not the Super Bowl and nowhere else. We will find you. We will.
I want to remind MAGA that Puerto Rico is a part of the United States of America. You need to understand that. Puerto Rico is a part of the United States of America.
Yeah, so now Edomites are mad that the dude is Ephraimite supposedly is going to be performing at the Super Bowl. But yeah, these women, they're Satan. These two white women, but I like the points they bring out. There's another one where they were talking about Edomite Christians, but we'll get to that one in another one. Let's keep reading this. When you hear about this Insurrection Act, let's see here. For minority protester movements, that can mean military response to demonstrations, not just riots. Okay. Historically, peaceful protests by minorities have been portrayed as threats. All right. And then they funded BLM and the agent provocateurs to just destroy shit during that BLM. They kept that in your face. Okay, and now that's the end all be all of Jake protest. All right, and we already know that was a funded, okay, organization by the left hand. All right, it says which raises concern about overreach and intimidation, militarization of civil life. Once invoked, the act allows combat trained soldiers to operate in civilian areas. Troops are not trained for community policing or crowd control. Their presence can escalate tension and fear. They're trained for war. Okay, so they'll be in neighborhoods and, you know, draconian measures passed. They'll just, again, like the scriptures say in 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. In 69, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden underfoot. And there shall be in every place. So a lot of you people on the left, a lot of you Jakes that's in the left and on the right, you know, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you all, you know, you locked into the system. You're going to be you're going to be in derision. Those of you that, you know, take what they force, you know, the jabs, the charagma, you're going to lose. For there should be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. The Insurrection Act. It's in the Bible. Okay? It's in the Bible. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. They shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. And then shall it be known who are my chosen. So the Lord is going to lift up a standard. This ain't the end all be all to just destroy everybody. Nah. And they shall be tried as gold in the fire. So we're going to be in the fire, purified, and it's going to be made manifest who were the servants of the Lord in that time. Hear ye, O my beloved, said the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. And yeah, Edomites, Moabites, you know, Japhites, Elamite, a lot of them are going to be getting their asses destroyed as well during this time. But who will be the focal point? Be Jake. Okay? Historical misuse against minorities. 1870s, Reconstruction. 1969, Detroit riots. 1967. 1992, Los Angeles riots over Rodney King. Okay? Chilling effect on protest and speech. If citizens feared that demonstrations could be labeled insurrections, all right, which Hebrew Israelite street preachings will eventually be labeled insurrection. And you got stupid ass camps, Wi-Fi to be exact, out there doing things that are just labeling video the way they label. It's like, are these dudes agents? Now, every member of the group don't have to be an agent. It could just be a few in there. But the things that they're doing is stupid. And then when you call it out, they'll tell you, nigga, you scared. So Jake is going to be doing things, whether it's just Satan on them or whether they're paid off or whether they're agents, whatever, that can be used. But the whole doctrine, period, can be used as a means to say that this can be labeled insurrection. And what does the word insurrection mean? Okay, the word insurrection means a violent uprising against an authority or a government. So our talking point, our doctrine is eventually going to be labeled in all of this. They're just, you know, the formulating the right narrative and accusation to go ahead and push towards us because they know they can't just do it right off. Rebellion, revolt, uprising, mutiny. All right. But our innocency is what we in a doctrine under the blood of Yahweh Shai, anarchy, fighting in the streets, coup, right? If citizens fear that demonstrations could be labeled insurrections, it may discourage lawful protest, especially among minority groups who already face discrimination. The First Amendment protects peaceful assembly, but military involvement can blur that line and suppress political dissent. Okay? So, and again, as you can say, as you see here, the act itself is race neutral on paper, but enforcement is not. is really made to come at Jake. In the U.S. history, the definition of insurrection has often been racialized. For example, enslaved results, black uprisings, and civil rights protests were treated as threats to national stability. And it's no different here. Now, I wanted to play this one as well. Give me 1 second while it loads.
He didn't glitch. Yeah, he's trying to pretend that there was a glitch. There wasn't a glitch. He knew that in that moment, he said way too much.
The president has plenary authority.
So fake, man.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
I was like, plenary authority? What does that mean? I had never heard of that term. And so I went right on over to Google to ask Google, what does plenary authority mean? Plenary authority is the full, complete, and absolute power to act on a specific matter without any limitations. This concept grants the holder would be Donald Trump, unrestrained power in a particular area and is often used in public law, such as Congress's Commerce Clause power or its power to legislate on Native American affairs. The key characteristics of plenary.
Yep, and we can ask here. What did it say? Plenary authority. Plenary authority. And how was it used against Native Americans? And let's go here to Isaiah 10. Isaiah 10:1. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. These are unrighteous decrees. Okay, and they're going to use their media, all right, to put 2 on the 10, as Jake says, all right, but to basically sensationalize a lot of things that are happening. Psalms 94, I believe. Bear with me. The internet's tripping. Crazy day. Crazy day. Psalms 94:20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous. And this is where you black conservatives, boy, you just wait till the Lord deal with y'all. Because y'all are all for it. You know, y'all all for, you know, what this devil is doing. And ultimately, you have no gripes with it. But once you start to see it, it's going to be too late. And then they go turn on you niggas, man. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? They gathered themselves against the soul of the righteous and condemned the innocent blood. See? But the Lord is my defense, and my God is the rock of my refuge. He shall bring upon them their own iniquity, and shall cut them off in their own wickedness. Okay? All right. The term plenary means what? Complete, absolute, or full. So the plenary authority means that one branch of government, usually Congress, has total and exclusive power over a certain area, power that can't be easily challenged or limited by courts or states. Okay? And this is what all of these loopholes the brother was going into in his video are leading to. Make or break treaties with tribes, regulate tribal lands and commerce, override tribal sovereignty, decide how tribes are governed and recognized. So this is what was used to wage war on the Northern Kingdom. Okay, this power is not explicitly written in the Constitution because they're doing away with your Constitution, but was created and expanded by the Supreme Court through a series of 19th century cases. And you devils think you're going to get away with all of this madness you've done? Okay? How can it be used today? Okay. And I mean, we can look, basically the Insurrection Act. Okay. Yeah. We were,
On Native American affairs. The key characteristics of plenary power: complete power. It signifies absolute and unqualified power over a particular subject. No limitations. When an entity has plenary authority, it operates without any constraints or restrictions within its scope. Broad scope. The power is wide-ranging and encompasses all aspects of the matter in question. Examples in public law. Commerce Clause. Congress's power to regulate interstate commerce is an example of plenary power, allowing it to legislate on this subject fully. Indian affairs. The plenary power doctrine in the U.S. grants the federal government broad and exclusive legislative control over Native American tribes. Immigration. Congress has been recognized as having plenary power to make rules for the admission and exclusion of aliens. He didn't glitch. He didn't freeze up. CNN didn't glitch. CNN didn't freeze up. In that moment, he knew that he had said too much. He had given us part of their plan. So I won't be surprised that somewhere in the near future, we will be hearing more about Donald Trump.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
I was like, plenary authority.
It was at this moment that he.
Plenary authority. The president has plenary authority. Singer?
Yeah, these devils got to go. Let's play some of this and we'll get out of here, man.
Let's show people the Insurrection Act and also getting the law, the preposterousness of another Article 3 judge saying Trump can't nationalize the Guard. That'd be just horse crap.
It's ridiculous. Well, first of all, Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution says that Congress has the power to provide for calling forth the militia for three purposes. One, to repel invasions. Two, to suppress insurrections. And three, to execute the laws of the Union. And right now we have all three of those things happening. We have an invasion of the United States, not just by cartel sex traffickers and other people from the South, but also we got jihadis coming in. We got China sending in, I'm sure, 10,000 Chinese nationals that are military-age males. Among them are going to be PLA troops that are sent in to prepare for special warfare attacks on the United States, on our infrastructure inside. So all of this is an open invasion. You have an ongoing insurrection now by the left, and there's that Red-Green Alliance. So the left has aligned itself with radical Islamicists who are in the United States. Al-Qaeda is already bragging they have cells across the United States ready for an October 7th style attack. I believe that's coming. I don't think we can avoid that at this point. So what we have to do as Americans is just embrace the suck and realize this is going to happen. Be careful about overstepping at the outset. Let them be the ones to overstep. Let them be the ones to give a Fort Sumter moment, as Matt Brock was talking about the other day.
That's beyond critical. Or the how the American Revolution kicked off as well.
Right.
Iran could activate sleeper cells inside the U.S. The left is being linked with the radical Islam. You should clearly see where this is going.
When the captain said to the men, "We didn't come here to fight. We're not going to attack anybody first, but if they want a war, they're going to get one."
Right. So in the founders' case, they didn't attack Boston. They waited for General Gage, forced General Gage to go out to where they were strong in the rural areas. And that's when it was very plain that the Crown was the aggressor, and then they got their asses kicked. Same thing I would say to Trump supporters out there right now is I've got family in California. I got a cousin.
Well, it's just with the Alamo. I mean, it was well known that, and Travis was such a badass. They even sent him down there as pawn sacrifice. He went down there. Hey, we're trying to mobilize folks. Give us time. He said, "I'll go down there," and literally said, "Victory or death." And then that gave us. The bloody, sure.
Right. So stay out of the cities. Let them, like Austin, for example, let them do what they're going to do and show their rears, and then let them show the world and show America what they're really about. Like I said, they're defending the indefensible anyway, but now let them be the first ones to cross the line. And then after that, President Trump should clamp down, but he should still do it in a measured way that is effective, but also does not give them that Kent State moment. But meanwhile, I would think that all Americans need to prepare themselves and prepare their local communities. As we saw in 2020, like right here in Texas, you had the leftists sent out on purpose to try to intimidate rural communities. It didn't work. Antifa would show up and Black Lives Matter would show up in a small town like Granbury, Texas, where I was, but the locals showed up too with rifles and shotguns, and Antifa does not want to dance. Whenever they're faced with Americans that are armed like that and prepared, in my experience, they back down. Now, this might be different because they've got jihadi allies or hardened and trained mercenaries working with them, as was discussed this last session. They might be coming in, and then you might get a bloody fight. So prepare yourselves. And that's why I think President Trump should invoke the Insurrection Act. And under that authority, he has clear authority not only to call up the guards, the militia, but also the rest of the militia. And by federal statute, the militia is defined as all able-bodied American males aged 17 to 45.
So they're basically getting ready to get these militia groups ready, all right, to come against Antifa and Black Lives Matter type groups. Okay? Class war, race war, sex war, civil unrest is coming, man. They're going to force it.
And the left's tried to demonize that, but that's the law. That's not only the law, it's what the founders told us was necessary for security of a free state. As it says in the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary for security of a free state. You're not going to be secure or free without. And the left spins the word regulated mean like regulated by the government. No, regulated means trained. Trained and organized. Yes. And of course, our governors and our legislatures in our states, including here in Texas, have dropped the ball for decades and generations. And of course, the more modern name they got rid of in the 60s is civil defense. Right. So we have an unprepared community, an unorganized community. We have individual firearms ownership, and you will, impromptu, ad hoc, be on your front lawns. As we've seen in multiple operations we did with hurricane relief, you will wind up having to suppress looters and people take advantage of chaos. So you might as well get organized ahead of time. But what President Trump can do that's unique is he has the authority that was already provided by Congress back at the start of the founding. The Militia Acts provide for calling forth the militia. He can call all of us up, and us veterans, until age 64. I believe he should. I think what he should say is given the reality of an invasion, of an insurrection, of a necessity to execute the laws of the Union, I'm calling forth the militia, not just the National Guard, but the rest of the militia, which is the unorganized militia. I'm going to call you together and order you to organize yourselves in your counties with the veterans instruct the National Guard as the militia, but also the rest of the militia. And by federal statute, the militia is defined as all able-bodied American males aged 17 to 45. And the left's tried to demonize that, but that's the law. That's not only the law, it's what the founders told us was necessary for security of a free state. As it says in the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary for security of a free state. You're not going to be secure or free without. And the left spins the word regulated mean like regulated by the government. No, regulated means trained. Trained and organized. Yes. And of course, our governors and our legislatures in our states, including here in Texas, have dropped the ball for decades and generations. And of course, the more modern name they got rid of in the 60s is civil defense. Right. So we have an unprepared community, an unorganized community. We have individual firearms ownership, and you will, impromptu, ad hoc, be on your front lawns. As we've seen in multiple operations we did with hurricane relief, you will wind up having to suppress looters and people take advantage of chaos. So you might as well get organized ahead of time. But what President Trump can do that's unique is he has the authority that was already provided by Congress back at the start of the founding. The Militia Acts provide for calling forth the militia. He can call all of us up, and us veterans, until age 64. I believe he should. I think what he should say is given the reality of an invasion, of an insurrection, of a necessity to execute the laws of the Union, I'm calling forth the militia, not just the National Guard, but the rest of the militia, which is the unorganized militia. I'm going to call you together and order you to organize yourselves in your counties with the veterans instructed to take command and then organize and train the other men. You stay in your counties until the president gives you any further orders, but you get yourselves ready. And why that's important is then you're getting yourself trained up and organized for the inevitable October 7th style attacks that are going to be coming. Whether that's right. His first admin that he didn't crank up the civil unrest the last year. They're doing it at the start. Right. And it's going to keep going. So that's what he could do right now. Of course, they'll howl and scream, but think about what the New World Order, the deep state, the oligarchs don't want. They don't want the American people strong in their local communities. They want you to have a false choice that they're going to cause chaos. And what's their answer? That dialectic answer is, well, more surveillance, biometric IDs, drones over you, weaponized drones. But they're going to tell you that's the only way to be safe when all the chaos happens, when all the terrorism happens. And the real answer is the founder's answer was we the people, the militia. And President Trump can call us up right now. No governor.
I'm guessing President Trump is against the deep state, against digital IDs, biometrics, and all that, right? With all of the people he's surrounded himself with.
You can stop him because you're being called into federal service, and he can organize us by the county like that, and he should.
And then the sheriff's department can weed out, quickly who they don't want.
The sheriff would have nothing to do with that. It'd be the president of the United States.
But I would imagine under that command, though, the states would be brought into organized under that.
If they're cooperating, they could. But my point is that under federal statutes, the president has.
No, I understand that. So I guess that he would designate the feds that would lead that.
No, he would say the military men who live in that county come together, the veterans, and that's who he puts in command. Now he might use
So Esau Edom, okay, is getting ready to go to what he knows. Right? And who will be the number one target amidst all of this? You guessed it, man. You can check out this video on Brighton. You see the name of it. Okay. Trump must invoke the Insurrection Act and call out American militia to defend against, all right, well, they're just saying the globalist communist uprising. All right. But within that, all right, they're saying particular groups, niggas and, that mean have ill intent. All right. They will have the right to roll on you. It's basically what it's saying in a nutshell. Okay. This is Sirach 51 and 3 in the GNT. You helped me when no one else could. In your great mercy, you saved me from the many troubles I have known, from the glaring hatred of my enemies who wanted to put an end to my life, from suffocation and oppressive smoke rising from fires that I did not light, from death itself. All right, they're going to blame all kind of stuff on us. From vicious slander reported to the king. I was once brought face to face with death. Enemies surrounded me everywhere. I looked for someone to help, but there was none to help. But then, O Lord, I remember how merciful you are and what you had done in times past. I remembered that you rescue those who rely on you, that you save them from their enemies. All right, even if you got a gat, a gun, whatever, in this time, in the times to come, you're going to need divine protection, man. Okay? Psalms 140:1. Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adders' poison is under their lips. Keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent men who are proposed to overthrow my goings. Okay. And these devils are really, all right, just reacting to the reality of what's happening, the collapse of their, kingdom, the shameful spewing coming up on, their glory. I had more, this is kind of all over the place. Points were all over the place, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna leave it there. Lord willing, we be out there tomorrow on the highways. Lord willing, I wake up, and get up, do what I gotta do, and we'll be on the highways. And Lord willing, there'll be more, edification to come, man. So throw up prayers for the Akim wa Akwatim. Especially throw up prayers for the apostles, the bishops, and the elders. We here, man. Shalom.